Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining this live stream. My name is Ivy Prosper, and today is going to be a really interesting discussion. I would love for everybody who's joined, share where you are in the world, where you're joining us from. I know that this live stream is for African youth, especially for Ghanaian youth who have been having a little bit of frustration about the job search. So my name is Ivy, as I said, and I typically tell stories from Africa and the African diaspora. But today I want to welcome you all to talk about something that is very important. This is a very serious conversation because too many of our young people are being left behind. Unemployment in Ghana is over 14%, according to data from 2023, and over 1.3 million youth aged 15 to 35 are unemployed in Ghana. Many young people are qualified, but they are underprepared to navigate the job market. Now, what makes me an expert to bring you this live stream today, or makes me qualified to speak on this subject? I know that many of you know me as a YouTube creator, a producer, a TV host, author, MC, moderator, and the former social media manager at Year of Return and Beyond the Return under Ghana Tourism Authority up until late last year. What you may not know is that I spent 5 years as a manager and 3 years as a senior manager in the retail industry, where I hired, I fired, and I trained people. I also have been in other positions where I have supervised and trained people as well. My career experiences span a wide array of industries, from restaurants to retail clothing, footwear, journalism. I've done factory work. I've delivered newspapers. I've sold cosmetics. I've worked in advertising sales. I've worked as a receptionist, a waitress. I worked at a dating service. I've worked as in gardening at a greenhouse, a TV show host, and so much more. I started working when I was 10 years old. So I have a lifetime of experience, a lifetime of making CVs, AKA resumes, to apply for jobs. So today, we are going to dive into some of the challenges faced by the youth when it comes to finding work. We will be talking about your CV, or resume, as they call it in some places, your job searching, your personal branding, your soft skills, your networking, and your interview skills. Over the last few years, I've often had young people express their grief about not being able to find work and saying that they've tried everything and have given up. I recently got into an exchange with someone on X, formerly known as Twitter, about how hard it is to find work in Ghana. I often find that many youth complain that only those who have connections or have family or they know somebody are the ones who get the jobs. The reality is this kind of stuff happens around the world. Nepotism, friends and family, that and people you know, that's something that happens around the world. We can't get around that because it's known that that happens. But that doesn't mean you should allow that to be the hindrance of you being able to find a job, because not everybody is getting work because they know someone. There are so many more people who are getting work without knowing anyone. Now, my special guest today is someone who offered to do a free webinar during this Twitter exchange, this post exchange on X. He offered that he was willing to help by doing a webinar, despite that person who was complaining still having a comment to say, even after he offered a free webinar. So I saw this as an opportunity to reach out to him and see if he would be interested in collaborating with me to do this live stream where we can do something to help the youth learn skills necessary to find work. So today my guest is Osei Owusu Kwame, also known as Ookshelf. He's going to help you level up your job hunting game with some expert advice in navigating interviews and other skills, because sometimes it's the interview that you failed. Some of the mistakes that young people make, we're going to dive into in this live stream. Mistakes like using a generic CV for every application, not researching companies before interviews, poor communication skills, relying on job boards and ignoring networking, not developing soft skills and personal branding. All of these are important when it comes to your job search. So let me bring on the guest today. Kwame, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here to have this important discussion. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Ivy, for making this happen. My name is Osei Owusu. I'm a clinical pharmacist, mental health advocate, health content creator, and also I'm the host and founder of the Oak Shelf podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. You mentioned being the host of your own podcast. I want to share with people so they can see your YouTube page if you want to follow him. So you can see he does do stuff to advocate for mental health. He does have important, engaging conversations. This is his YouTube channel, so you can check him out. He has conversations on mental health, schizophrenia, your overall health, things that, you know, are important as a young person to get through. He talks about being a refugee, different things that people go through, dementia, managing family with dementia, those types of things. So you can follow him on his YouTube channel, which you see there on the screen. So we're going to dive into this conversation. And I see that we do have a few people who've joined us on the live stream. Don't be shy. Drop your name in the comment section, or you can tell us where you're watching from. Are you in Accra? Are you in Kumasi? Are you in Bogatanga? Where in the country are you that you're watching us from, to learn a little bit about finding a job? So the first topic that we're going to talk about is the current job market in Ghana. I want to talk about why unemployment is so high. And Kwame, you can also chime into this. I'm going to first say that I think that one of the challenges with unemployment in Ghana is we have people who've graduated, but the challenge is their education might be theoretical, but it doesn't align with some of the market needs because they don't have any applied skills or applied knowledge in the field that they studied. What do you think about that?
You're so right, Ivy. I would 100% agree with you because the Ghanaian education system has been built over a longer period of time on theory, whereby there's been less practical. Because with me doing my primary and secondary education in Ghana, I hardly even went to the science lab. Everything that I learned about science was just basically in the book. You just have to imagine that this is the conical flask, this is the pipette, and this is how we use it. So you have read about it, but you have not even gone to the science lab to even utilize or use that kind of knowledge in preparing a solution and how it is. So it has actually molded us to always be thinking about stuff in the more of the theory base. So if you give a Ghanaian young person a book and a pen and paper to basically regurgitate everything that they've learned about that particular topic, we will do it 100%. That one, no doubt, because there's something called chew and pour. However, one thing that needs to be more understood is that when it comes to the job market, that is the time for us to translate that skills and that kind of knowledge that we have acquired regarding that particular field. That's when we have to start using them in problem solving. But because we have not been much exposed to the practicalities of the problem solving aspect of that particular problem, we tend to suffer. And unfortunately, it makes a lot of people not be able to withstand that kind of competition when it comes to the job market. So, for example, if it's an engineer, they might not be able to physically realize that they have to make certain kind of alignment for this particular beam or this particular pole to be straight. But if you give them their book for them to calculate the angle at which this particular pole needs to stand, they will be able to do it 100%. So translating it onto the practical aspect always becomes a barrier. And that's one thing that I will 100% agree with you when it comes to the job market in Ghana.
Most definitely. And so, one of the things that I think young people can do to overcome that is being willing to volunteer in some places to be able to get the skills. Do you think that that's something that young people should start doing? Because I feel like some people don't look at that as an alternative.
That is one of the alternatives that young people need to start doing. But Ivy, the question is that how many of such companies actually do exist in Ghana? And how many of them are they willing to open their doors to accommodate young people to do it? Because I believe, first of all, there is a massive barrier between this generation and the generation before us, right? The generation before us, most of them have got the ideology that this current generation are not serious because of certain kind of, let's say, lifestyle or certain kind of push. And one thing I've also seen within our generation is that, or my generation, is that a lot of young people do not have the tenacity to push. When they are facing the difficulties, some of them easily throw in the towel and say that I've tried enough. I'm never going to actually try any longer. So one thing that with me, I would propose is that the ministries, for example, Minister of Youth and Development, Minister of Education, there should be some form of collaboration that they need to have between the government and the private sector, whereby secondary, senior high schools doing vacation, they're not only doing vacation classes, at least if they have got, let's say, a long vac of approximately 6 weeks, at least out of the 6 weeks, 2 weeks, if each and every student out of the two is able to have 3 days in the field that they believe could potentially help them develop certain kind of skills. You don't have to, you will not be able to develop all the skills, but however, if you are able to work within a team, by the time you leave within the 3 days, your teamwork skills would have sharpened, your communication skills would have sharpened, your initiative and your idea birthing would have actually sharpened. It would boost certain level of confidence in you. You'll be able to express yourself better, because we have also been brought up in an environment in Ghana that all the time the adult is right, what the adult says is the final. Therefore, it does not give a lot of young people the room to use their initiative when it comes to problem solving. They are looking at the adult, or they're looking at someone who is very active within a group work to do all the work so that they can add their little contribution to it. But if you always want to play the background scene, you will remain the background. But if you want to um develop certain skills, you have to come forward. Even if you get it wrong in that stage, it's better to get it wrong at the time that you are doing internship and work experience than to even mess it up when you have been given the role opportunity. Therefore, a lot of young people sometimes are getting the opportunities, but because they don't know how to utilize it, it falls out of their hands. And some of them too don't even know how to utilize their skills in any shape or form. So that is one of the obstacles that I believe is also contributing to an increased unemployment rate in Ghana.
So, what do you think the youth can do? Because, as you mentioned, there are not systems in place to allow them those opportunities to do like volunteering work. We don't have a system where, when they're on school break, they can do a couple of weeks somewhere and get the experience and the credit for it. What are some of the tools that you believe they can utilize to get those skills when there is that gap?
Some of the skills, some of the ways that I would encourage the young people is they shouldn't give up. First of all, there are job fairs that goes on in Ghana. They should start targeting and networking with key personalities in those kind of fields, because tenacity goes a long way of opening more doors than you sitting in your household and giving up. Because the way the system has been structured, it's been structured that only a few can win. So if that's the case, that means You have to even have a level of tenacity to prove your worth in every opportunity, in every space that you find yourself, the opportunity to prove it. So when there's a job fair, you heard about a job fair going on in, let's say, in Accra, and you live in Kumasi, take that opportunity, leverage on that opportunity to go there with with the mindset that I've got XYZ skills. You don't have to have all the skills to be able to become employable. But once you show up and you are able to sell yourself, it's very important that every company that is within that room, even if they believe you do not qualify to be in their space, they'll be able to signpost you to be able to utilize those kind of skills. Because um, a lot of time, one of the things I've actually realized is most Ghanaian youth find it very difficult to sell themselves. We always confuse selling yourself with bragging, right? But selling yourself is not bragging. And even if I'm bragging about it, so be it. Because at the end of the day, I want to be fed. I believe that I've got the skills. I believe that I deserve this opportunity. So whatever that I would do to grab the opportunity, I would definitely do so, because the opportunity can go a long way of opening a lot of doors for me. And one of the things, whilst we are selling ourselves, one of the things that I will encourage as young people is sometimes we shouldn't let our passion make us say certain things or overpromise certain things that we know ourselves that we cannot offer. That is some of the things that also some people tend to put on their CV, and it gets their CV thrown away. For example, you have not had any experience, right, of having a work experience. How did they appear on your CV that you are able to manage a team? In what capacity? If you are able to manage a team, maybe you were able to manage a team at your secondary school level. So you can actually phrase it as you were, let's say, you were a leader of this particular group. Let's say I was a leader of my students' union, and what kind of skills did I um, develop? So you could actually talk about through event organization, you were able to build up a team to be able to solicit funds. And through your communication skills, you were able to negotiate a lot of opportunities for young people. Through using your initiative, we're able to identify that students are always late for school, and some of them live in the outskirts of the school. Therefore, you were able to sit down with the school authority for them to come up with a plan, such as making a lot of transports, such as buses, available for those students. By showing those kind of skills, every company knows that you are a young person who have been able to get a little opportunity, as far as little as being in a school SRC team, to be able to use that little opportunity that you think you've got to be able to solve a lot of problems. So every company is looking for a problem solver. So it's on your CV, or it's in that 1 minute pitch. That is where you are going to be showcase it to these employers that you are worth for them to take that gamble on. And lo and behold, if you have got the skills, it will shine through, and the door is going to be open for you.
Most definitely. Now you mentioned CVs. We have a few people who are online watching right now, and I know people have not put themselves in the comment section. I can understand sometimes people are a little bit shy, but if you're watching, this is really, really important what I'm about to show you and what I'm about to talk about. As I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, some people don't realize that I actually worked as a senior manager, and I've worked as a manager in a capacity where I was hiring people, I was firing people, I was training people, and promoting people. And so I had this capacity that I had to look at CVs all the time. People were bringing in CVs, people want to apply for jobs. And so last year, even here, I was looking for somebody to be an admin assistant, executive assistant, and I got so many CVs sent to me, and a lot of them were not good. And so I want to help you understand that sometimes your CV is the very reason you're not even getting a call. I know somebody who works in an executive position who told me he has thrown people's CVs in the garbage because he can tell that by the way the CV is done, that person would not have the capacity to even do some of the basic things on the job. Because your CV is your first advertisement of yourself, of what you can do if you actually got the job. And even before the CV, is the email, because a lot of companies now will tell you to email the CV. So I'm going to put on the screen right now an email that I had received. Now I have blacked out the person's name and because I just for privacy reasons, but this is just to show you. Now, if you have applied for a job and you send an email, you've put the headline administrative assistant. Perfect. You've put something in the headline so I know that this is somebody who's applying for that job. Now, first of all, I'm a woman. And your email started off, this person's email started off as, "Good day, sir. Kindly find attached my CV for the above vacancy." Now, this is a terribly crafted email to send to somebody when you're looking for a job. Do your research and find out who it is you're sending the email to. In this instance, it was obvious the email was coming to me because I had actually posted on Twitter that I'm looking for this particular position. So people responded to me from Twitter. So when you responded to me from Twitter, you knew I was a woman, but your email started off as, "Good day, sir." And like your best bet would be to address the person by name if you know their name. And all you said was, "Kindly find attached my CV for the above vacancy." This is when you should introduce yourself. "Hello, my name is, this is the position I'm applying for." You let them know, "I saw your advertisement at, wherever you saw it, and I'm applying for this position." And then tell me, why do you think you are the person for the position? Why are you the one I should call? What have you done? And if you haven't done anything, that you haven't had a job before, there is certainly something you've done in your life that can apply to this type of position. For example, what Kwame was saying earlier, he was talking about if you were in a leadership role in school, maybe you were a prefect, whatever it may be, you can use that to say, "I have leadership skills. When I was in charge of the student group, I did A, B, C, D." You list off the things that you did. Maybe you executed an event and you say, "I was in charge of leading an event we were doing, and this is what I was able to do." Like, you should say something that entices the person to want to open the CV that you've attached to the email. So I'm showing this because a lot of people even send emails with nothing even written in it. I've had emails where all they do is they send an email with an attachment and there's not even a hello, there's not a good morning, there's nothing in the email. So it's very, very important when you send an email to somebody when you're looking for a job, you find out who it is you're sending the email to so you can get their name. And if you don't know their name, you can easily say, "To whom it may concern," or "Attention Human Resources," if you've looked and you've not been able to find a name. But one of the things you can do if you're applying to a company, let's say you're applying to Nestle. I'm just using it as an example. You can go to LinkedIn and look to see who works at Nestle in Ghana. Try to see if you can find who is the head of human resources at Nestle in Ghana. And once you find that and you find the person's name, now you have a name you can use when you send your email, when you send your CV. Take the time to do that. A lot of people don't take that extra step, and that ends up being what makes you not even get your foot in the door. The other thing I want to show you is another one here. This is let me go to the cover letter first. Cover letter. So again, I've blacked out, private information, address, phone number, that type of thing. But I wanted to show this as an example of a person sending an email, application for job opening. The person said, "Herewith, I send an application letter and curriculum vitae in response to your advertisement. I believe my CV that I'm submitting provides you with my qualifications and capacity to execute the position if given me. My details are as follows." And then they go on to list name, email, and then I hope my qualifications meet your expectations. Thank you. This is a horribly crafted cover letter. This is a horribly crafted cover letter. First of all, you don't need to give me your details in the body of the email when you said my details are as follows, because your details were already at the top of the letter on the right. I've blacked it out, as I said, for privacy reasons, but you've already given that information at the top right. You don't need to repeat it again in the letter. It's too repetitive. And you sound like you're trying to write a Shakespearean novel by saying, herewith I send an application. Nobody speaks like that. Nobody speaks that way. Herewith I send an application letter and curriculum vitae CV in response. You don't need to say that. Introduce yourself, say the job you're applying for, mention a couple of points about your skills, and then tell me that it's outlined in the CV that's attached, and that you're looking forward to speaking to me. When you say, I hope my qualifications meet your expectations, you're already saying you're not sure. You're not sure if you're the right one for the job. Don't say, I hope my qualifications meet your expectations. You should say, look over the CV, and I look forward to hearing from you. When can we schedule a time to speak? After you've had a moment to look at my CV, let's schedule a time to speak. Like, sound authoritative, like you are ready to book something. Don't sound passive. What do you think about this, Kwame?
Yeah, you mean regarding the CV or the point that you've raised?
This cover letter, what your thoughts are on it?
Even I was even about to make mention of it, that I believe that I can find the name, the telephone number, and even the email on the CV. So the cover letter is an opportunity for you to showcase to me how those skills you have already will be utilized on the job that is being advertised. So on the CV, it's just been listed, but in the cover letter, you are trying to open my eyes that maybe you were given this leadership position in your secondary school or university, but coming onto the job, you have been able to develop, let's say, communication skills that is going to be utilized on teamwork. And also, whilst you are in that leadership skills, it's also giving you the initiative and the problem solving skills to be able to contribute to problem solving within the company. So cover letter is more of you trying to sell yourself, basing it on the skills that you've made mention of. Because with the skills, everybody can mention it. I can tell you right now that I've got leadership skills, I've got communication skills. But when it comes to when I was able to utilize such a skill in the past, or how I'm going to transfer that kind of skill onto this currently advertised role, that is when a lot of people are found wanting. And as you said, cover letters and CVs are a way of you advertising yourself before even you get to the interview stage. So by the time you reach the interview stage, you know that your cover letter and your CV had already sold you to the HR. The only thing now needed is for you to verbally construct your sentences and showcase it to them. So if your CV is not even doing you much justice, how would I actually call you for an interview? If you call you for interview, then it means they are really, really desperate, and there's something they've come across on your CV and your cover letter that's really drawn their attention, and they believe that you should be given the chance for you to express yourself.
Well said, well said. I hope that those of you watching are taking notes. This is a very important topic and something that is, detrimental to your future, because it can help you with finding a job. Now, once we get to the CV, one of the things that is very common is on the top of a CV, people will put their career objective. Now, one of the things that people forget is that you need to tailor your CV to the job you're applying for. When it sounds too generic, that also is something that can put off some of the companies when they look at your CV. So this person was applying to me because I was saying I needed an administrative assistant. And the career objective is to be able to work efficiently and effectively in an environment where utmost use of my skills, ability, capabilities, and competencies will help achieve the organizational goals and objectives. That is too generic. If you know the job you're applying for, you should be able to tailor your statement to the job you're applying for. What is it that the person is expecting from you, and what do you think you can do for that company or for that individual? because this just sounded too generic and like something you've sent to every single person, and sounds like there was no time taken out to tailor it and know what your skills are to tailor to what I was looking for or what a potential employer is looking for. And then the structure of this CV, the education section, it's too spaced out. It's just too spaced out. This should be more compact. I just found it was too just too all over the place, in my opinion. I felt like it should be more compact. So you should be a very succinct with your CVs, because a person who's looking at it, imagine an HR person gets 1,000 CVs. They have like a split second to decide if they're going to read all of your CV. And if they see something looks a little bit off, they won't even continue looking at it and they'll move on to the next one. What are your thoughts, Kwame?
Yeah, you're 100% right. The HR hasn't got much time to screen through the thousands of CVs on their desk, because they have also got a deadline to meet. So they will be looking out for CVs that are standing out. So even if you do qualify, the structure of your CV can easily, throw your CV into the bin. So it's really important how we structure it and ensuring that we are letting our current education, our latest education, to come to the top, and our last education to come to the bottom, which is fantastic what the person has done, meaning it shows that the person has gone to the university level. Therefore, it will already put them ahead if that university, that particular job role is looking for someone who has graduated from the university. But as you made mention, the spacing and the structure really, really plays a key role when HRs are looking at CVs for jobs.
Most definitely. I thank everybody who's on the live stream right now. If you're just joining us, I am here with Kwame Osei Owusu, or Ookshelf is his page. We are talking about how to get a job in Ghana for African youth, giving you tips. Right now, we are looking at the CVs and cover letters and the tips on what you can do to improve. My daughter says, will this be pre-recorded? This is being recorded, so you can watch it afterwards. You can share it with other people if you're not able to stay with us throughout this entire live stream. This is being recorded and you can watch it later. Thank you for your question. And so even though these skills are meant that we're focused on the African youth, there are youth around the world who could use this. This could be very useful to a lot of young people, because there are challenges around the world with young people trying to find jobs when they finish university, they finish college, and they're saying that they're having a hard time finding a job. And we're talking about the CV right now. So that's the top part where you see the education, and this person's CV. This is the section that showed this person's work experience. The same type of thing where just the way that it's set up, it could be more succinct. It could be visually more appealing. I found that because this person was applying for work for me for an administrative assistant, I think the person should have pulled out the skills from that particular role that would help what I needed for an administrative assistant. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say tailoring your CV to the job you're applying for. And that means when you read the job description, you really have to look at, does this job description fit my skills, the skill set? Do I have a skill set that would mesh with this? So this person was a national service personnel is one of the roles here. I'm going to go through this quickly for somebody who may be watching, and this might be useful. So this person wrote, set up consulting rooms properly for clinic to make consultations and patients comfortable. Also wrote recorded patient notes, requested labs, medications to lighten consultants' workload, scheduled review dates for patients to help manage patient numbers per day. So for the administrative assistant role, you would be helping to do some scheduling for me for my appointments, for scheduling, because I do filming with camera people, coordinating guests on my show. So you could say, You scheduled review dates for patients in the clinic you were working in. The skills you used to be able to manage the schedule for patients, you could use that same skill set for helping me to manage my guests and coordinate my schedule in order for me to have a good flow. Like you have to somehow tie it into the position so we can see that your skills are transferable. And then recorded patient notes, requested labs, medications to lighten consultants' workload. You can simply say, you know, you took notes and you worked on requesting labs. You can take the initiative for me. You could be like, the skills that you had in taking notes of patient notes, you can use that type of skill of taking notes when I'm filming. You could be the person who's going to be taking the notes during the filming session so that when we're done filming, we can use some of your notes to help us with the editing process, whatever it may be. Take the time to understand the role that you are applying for and pull from your skills that you had in your previous position to line it up with the job you're applying for. Any thoughts to add?
Yeah, the thought I'll add is most often the skills that they are even looking for from the job lies within the advertisement. Some job roles might not explicitly state the skills that they are looking out from you, but if you really look at the job role, i.e., let's say your job advertisement, you're looking for administrative role. First of all, Google, find out what does the role of the admin involve. What kind of skills am I required? What responsibilities am I going to take over? Then when you look at it, you sit down and you list the skills that is required by an admin, and you look at the skills that you already have. Then you match up. For example, if let's say it's required 8 skills and you've got about 5 of the skills, know that you are halfway through getting the job. What are the 3 skills is mentioned? What can you do? Would you be able to make it up? Is this something that you quickly need to get someone to train you to be able to get it, or whilst you are on the job, you'll be able to pick up? Are those 3 skills that you don't have, are they really essential skills that you're supposed to have? All these will help you to save yourself from the disappointment of not even getting the job in the first place. So you save the company the time of screening your CV, and you save yourself the time. But if you have got majority of the skills, why not? Just go for it. So far as you're able to sell yourself to the one who's advertising, your CV has actually been well tailored for the job, then you stand a chance of, getting the job.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that insight as well. I hope that all of you watching are taking notes, because this is such an important thing that people need to know when it comes to your job search. If you're just joining us now, do know that this live stream has been recorded and you can always watch the replay if you've missed the earlier parts of this live stream. I am here with Kwame Osei Owusu. Ookshelf is his business name. You can find him on YouTube as well, and he has some amazing conversations on his podcast. And today he is sharing some insights on the job search for young people alongside myself, where we are trying to help the youth in learning how they can improve their job search. Now, a part of the CV, this person had included their skills and personal qualities, and their interests were listed on there. A lot of the times people will have a separate section to list their skills. And I don't think it was necessary to have a separate section that says personal qualities, because I feel like these are all part of the skills as it is. It could have been all combined into one place. And then the languages doesn't necessarily need to be listed as an interest. That's another skill. Language is a skill that you can include under the skills, that you speak English, Tree, and Fanti. And sometimes people are interested in your extracurricular activities. Like I see you have reading, singing, traveling, making new friends, and sports there. I don't think that's, for me, that's not critical when I'm looking for someone for their job. What do you think, Kwame?
Yeah, it depends from job to job, because some jobs want to know your interests so that they'll be able to ascertain whether you are able to balance your personal life with work. Because some people are not able to have the striking balance. They'll be working, even when they go home, they'll be working. That in a longer period of time can drain you, and it can affect your productivity at work. But by showing your interest, it shows that, okay, this person has got something that keeps them going. Even if they have a bad day at work, it will not eat them up into the following day, but they're able to ease themselves out of it, be able to watch, like, let's say, a movie, listen to a music that would enable them to be able to come refreshed into the following day to be able to continue with their work role. So it depends from work to work for them to be able to um, get that particular role. And it depends from company to company as well.
I want to thank those who've joined in the live stream today. Thank you so much, Tilly, to the top here for joining. She said you are my favorite YouTube sister. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. The whole goal of this, and I normally do live streams where I'm talking about Ghana, talking about moving to Ghana. I share information for the diaspora. I do interviews with people from the diaspora and people from Ghana about things that they're doing in the country to make an impact, doing business. But right now, I really wanted to do something for the young people because we have youth who are frustrated because they're not able to find jobs. And some of them are not finding jobs because of things they may be doing wrong, which is why today's live stream, we're talking a lot about the CV is what we're talking about right now, the CV or resume, as they call it in some countries, so that people know what they need to do to improve their communication on their CV, on their cover letter, and the emails they send, so that they can actually get somebody to read their application. Because if you don't do a good job with that, that is your first port of call. They might never even, look at the whole thing and toss it out. And then you've lost your chance right there. When someone has thousands of resumes to look at and there's only one or two roles available, they really have to find a way to be as efficient as possible. And that ends up being something that can work against you if you don't have a strong CV when you're applying for the job. So as I said, if you've missed what we talked about, going through the CV and going through the email, I was sharing on the screen the different ones that examples of what I had received from people who applied for a job from me. You can always watch the replay, take your notes, make sure that you, take the time to learn how to do this because, I was fortunate. I think my first resume that I did, I was probably like 12. Yeah, I think I was like 12 years old when I wrote my first resume. Or CV is the interchangeable resume or CV. And I understood the importance, and I'm fortunate that my parents, they instilled so many things in me that helped me in some of the things that I've done throughout my life and throughout my career. And so, it's only a positive thing for me to give back for the young people to be able to learn some of these things. And I know some people are shy and don't want to make their comments, but if you're watching and you're one of those young people, please do make sure that you're taking notes so that it can help you with your job search. Ricky P, that's my sister, thank you for joining. Said this was a great idea to help the youth that are looking for work. Yes. Oftentimes on X, formerly known as Twitter, a lot of Ghanaian youth are on that social media platform. And I often see complaints about not being able to find work. And then also the fact that when I had looked for people and put a call out, a lot of the CVs that I received were not done very well at all. And it just really made me feel like it's necessary to try to show you how you can improve some of your skills. And then I'm so glad that Kwame was available to do this, and that he also had offered to do a webinar. So it just was only a natural thing to come together to do this. So the next thing I want to talk about is interviews. And this is something that Kwame had said he wanted to talk about as well, navigating the interview process. A lot of people don't prepare themselves before they go to a job interview. And then they get there and then they fail miserably. So, when you're preparing for a job interview, one of the things that young people don't realize, especially in this generation, it seems, is you have to do your research. You can't just walk in and expect that you're going to wing it. Yeah, and when I say you do your research, so for example, if you got a job interview with, let's say there's an advertising company in Ghana called Originate. Let's say Originate called you in for a job interview, and you just show up. You need to know about that company. Make sure you know something about the company before you go into the interview. You need to be prepared, well versed, know what they do. Go to their website, look at what they do. Who is their people in management? You know, what kind of projects have they worked on? Is there any news story about them? Is there anything that they've done in the community? You know, you need to be able to have a good conversation with them, and that they know that you know who they are, what they do, what they stand for. Can you fit within their company culture? Every company has their own company culture. And if you don't fit, then maybe you're not the right person for the job. But you have to look at who they are. What do they do? So that when they ask you a question, you can answer like intelligently. Don't just be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Because if you do that, you've already lost the job because you don't know. They'll be like, this person didn't even take the time to look this up. Do your research. Prepare yourself before you go into the interview. And if you have any questions about the company, prepare your questions in advance, because when they come to you and they say, so do you have any questions? And if you're like, nope, then it's like, okay, this person is not thinking critically. This person just wants to take what I say as face value. You should come prepared with a few questions when you come into the interview. And also prepare yourself with a positive thing that you've done. What did you do at your last role that maybe increased sales? Or what did you do at your last role that made an event you planned a success? What did you do that made something positive happen? And then they'll probably ask you about your negative traits. Sometimes they like to ask you, what do you think your weaknesses are? What are your strengths? They're going to ask you those kinds of questions in your interview. And sometimes when they ask you about your weakness, they really want to see if you're allowing your weakness to really overcome you to the point that you become self-defeated. Because some people are able to admit, okay, this is a weakness of mine, but this is what I do to overcome that weakness and still be able to do A, B, C, D. So you need to be able to turn it around so that it doesn't become something that they look at and be like, oh, that person's weakness. We can't have that person with our team. Prepare yourself. Preparation is the key to you succeeding in the interview. Preparation. Kwame, I want you to add to this because I know you really wanted to talk about navigating the interview because you talked about having experiences that you learned from. So please do share.
100%. So you've actually touched on a lot of salient points already, and I would like to add these few points that I have. All the points that you've raised, honestly speaking, it was just speaking to me because I have sat interviews and these are the kind of questions I have been asked, right? And as you said, it's all about having your interviews as your armband. When you reach a certain time, right, you need to, especially if you are in your job searching season, every single time, make sure that you have got your CV next to you, whereby you are reading through it that on top of your head, you even know the skills that you have actually got from your previous job and how you can use to utilize in any given situation that you are asked. For example, you're a marketing manager. You should be able to pitch yourself to a different marketing role. If today there's a job opportunity out there and you get to meet the HR on the street because you desperately need a job. And as Ivy, you made mention of that when you are being asked about your weaknesses, try not to dwell on it as a weakness by identifying that particular trait or skill as your weakness alone is your strength. I repeat, by identifying that particular skill or trait to be your weakness is your strength. Why? Because it shows that to me you know your self-value, you know yourself properly. Therefore, what I need to hear next is, I know that I do have these kind of challenges that I do face, which could sometimes seem as a weakness. However, over time, I've been able to develop XYZ strategy to be able to overcome it. So right now is actually gearing towards becoming my strength, i.e., let's say I'm not able to meet deadlines, right? So I could end up phrasing it in a certain way that over time, one thing I've identified in my work, in my previous workspace, was that I was either meeting the deadline right on the dot, or sometimes I'm being given extra time. So right now, what I have come to realize is that whenever I'm given a project, I will be able to break it down into chunks and start working on it from the get-go, so that getting closer to the submission time, I would have actually got all the answers I need for the different parts of the project. So let's say 2 days before that time, you've already put your answers, or you've been able to construct the feedback or the solution to that particular problem within that project. You've been able to construct it, and it's now ready for submission. By you showing that, you've shown that, one, you are able to manage your time well. Two, you are able to use your initiative to break down the particular problem or the project you've been given into little chunks, and work and use your strength to see which one you can start first, so that it does not consume your time. That automatically, if you tell me I'm sitting on the board, I'll just be nodding my head and I'll write it as your strength. That is no longer your weakness. So that is something that people need to have as young people. We need to have as a hindsight that we could be asked. And another thing that I would like to add is that researching about that particular role is really important. By picking up your phone, if let's say they give you an interview date, by picking up your phone prior to the interview, not one day before the interview, but let's say they're giving you 3 or 4 days notice, the following day you pick up a phone, you call them, you let them know that you have received an offer for their interview. You would like to ask a few questions. Are they willing to walk you through it? By you calling them, what you have shown is that you have got an interest in it. You want to make sure that you are fully prepared for the interview. So even if on that particular day, the scores that you get for your interview are tying with someone they've never heard their name before, the board might make a decision of giving you the job. Why? Because what makes you stand out and distinct compared to the other person that you were tying with is you have gone out of your way to call them to find out more information about the company. You've asked about their key performing indicator, which is their KPI, the projects that they are working on. They might, some of them that you might have, identified online, but you might not understand certain things. So you don't want to make things up. By calling and asking them, you are showing the initiative and interest in the job, and that would help and sell your name. So before they even sit you down to have the interview with you, they already know who you are. They've already heard your name. So your personality and the answers you are giving on that particular chair that you are sitting on is just an extra mark, or it's just a bonus for them to offer you that job. Another thing that needs to also needs to be worked on, or needs to be looked at all the time, is using the STAR approach when it comes to the interview. When you are given a scenario, it's about how you answer it. The situation, what's the situation talking? The task, what task have you done in the past that is similar to this? The A, which is the action that you took, and the R, which is about the results. Everyone, if you take this approach, I guarantee you your answers would be more structured, and you will be able to convey much better to the particular person who asked you the question. Because if you're able to give me the results of this of what you did, for example, a situation like, let's say I was leading an SLC on a university campus, which I have done before. I'm leading that particular society, and unfortunately the funding that I was looking for from investors to invest in our program to happen, last minute they told us that they don't have enough funding to help us go ahead. But I didn't let that stop me from achieving my goal, which is helping to contribute to better students experience. So what did I do? I rather went and pitched this idea to another investor who I was able to show their company the importance of them investing in the students' better experience, because what it's going to do is it's going to help with the corporate social responsibility of the company. You'll be able to help the company to be able to meet that kind of responsibility that they have for students. So in that kind of way, I'm also helping that company to sell themselves to students so they become students friendly. And at the end of the day, the action that I took was that I made sure that these companies, their projects or their name or their logo is always on the flyers that we do have. So whilst we are distributing our flyers, their logo was always visible to students. So it made students be aware that that particular company is students friendly and it's more likely to invest in me later on in life if I go and work for them. The results was that we were able to execute to have a better students experience, which we're able to move the, let's say, the students survey of having 50% of students always saying they have better students experience to, let's say, 75%. So by me being able to negotiate with an investor to be able to come and invest in our projects that we do or our programs that we do, it has helped to shift 50% to 75% of better students experience. So through that, I've been able to execute a lot of stuff. I've been able to help the company execute their corporate social responsibility, and I myself as a leader, I've been able to help contribute to a better students experience. So by using the star structure, I've been able to identify that situation which could have given me a very which could have actually made matters worse, because the only option I would have actually got was to throw in the towel and give up and not make the event come on. But I was able to look out there, use my initiative to start thinking outside the box and start looking for what we can do and pull the resources we can pull closer to be able to help use our society to achieve that. Through that, if I'm sitting on the board, 100% I'll give it, because I believe that you have been able to use you have been able to use one stone to kill two birds, achieve your purpose and achieve that company's purpose. That is what I believe you could contribute to my job. So that's how the STAR method of answering questions is can be utilized. And the other bits that I would add, which most of the time, sometimes some people may undervalue, is your confidence level. Every company is looking for a client, is looking for an employee who is really confident. When I mean confident, even if you are shy and or you are the person who is always feeling out of place, that is the day or that's the time to showcase your confidence. Because do you know that confidence can make a trickster achieve their purpose? That's someone who is an expert lose the opportunity. That's what confidence does. With me all the time, I'm not here to brag, but I'm here to share true life experience. I went to work with Chelsea, the football club, and in hospitality, most of the time, the interviews are scheduled to be 30 minutes. But I kid you not, I used 12 minutes to answer all my interview questions. How did I do that? I was always like for telling what possible question I could be asked, because I've attended a lot of interviews, so I could predict what question they're going to ask me. So I used one particular scenario to answer every single question or two or three questions that I could have been asked. So I've merged all the questions that they are going to that the prospective question they're going to ask me. I've been able to merge all of them into my answer, so they had nothing else to ask me, and eventually I got the job. When I was going to university, I did the same kind of thing. I let my confidence to always make me feel like I've already got a job. Just go out there and showcase what you have got. That's how easy it is. And it comes with practice as well. And also eye contact. When you are sitting in an interview room and you start casting your eyes around, they can misinterpret it as you are fidgeting or you are not interested. However, if I'm not saying that you should look eyeball to eyeball because that would feel a bit weird. But even if you're making an eye contact to the forehead of the person, in the person's mind, they may think you are very confident and you are looking at them, and everything that you are saying is truthful. Because when you are having a conversation with someone and it's not even interview based, and you are even casting your eyes around, they may think you are lying. They may think you don't even have confidence in what you are saying. So they will interpret it as the person is lying. However, if I'm answering your question and I'm looking directly in your eyes, you would even feel intimidated. Make sure that you are not only in the room to make the employer make you feel intimidated. Let them know that there is a full force who has entered this room, who has got something that they want to take away from us, and we make sure that the person is worth for us to actually take it. And last but not the least is your appearance. We're not saying you need to dress glamorously, but one thing that you can do is, if you don't know if you have to dress formal, casual, call the company, ask them. You have that interview. What is the dress code that they would like you to, to come in? You don't want to be wearing a suit and tie. Meanwhile, you're going to be working in a construction site because health and safety has to come inside. So if you call them and they say, maybe if you have got your safety cap and you've got a safety boots, come wear it and come to the interview, because maybe straight after the interview, they would need your service on the site. You don't want to also go and dress down in an interview whereby you are going to have an interview in the corporate sector. So all these are some of the things that you could actually get the answers to if you pick up your phone and you call them, or even send an email to make an inquiry about before the interview. Helps to save you and make you feel at ease. And on that day of the interview, just present yourself, have confidence in yourself, pray to God that this job is your job and you are there to claim it. And hopefully, sometimes you don't even wait till the end of the interview, or you don't have to wait for them to call you. You know deep within yourself that you've already aced the interview and you've got a job. And even if you are able to showcase all these and you don't get a job, please ask for feedback. Feedback are always important. The reason being is it helps you and it prepares you for the next job that you're going to apply to. I went for an interview, and it was a pharmacy, it was a pharmacist role, that it was an entry-level pharmacist role that I was looking for. By getting the feedback, it made me understand that one particular medication that I couldn't give more information about is what made me not to get a job, and it's what gave the other person the job. So what did I do? I took that feedback on, went to read about that particular medication, and I knew that every pharmacy interview that I have, I'm prepared that if I'm asked about this particular drug, I'm not going to spare the opportunity. I'll make sure that I kill that question, and I will let them know that I'm well prepared. And that's what helped me to be able to get my other role. So having not getting the job, don't see it as a failure. See it as an opportunity for you to get feedback that will help you to be able to land your next role. So that's what I can actually contribute when it comes to interview.
Fantastic. You shared so many nuggets that I know anybody watching this, any young person, even people who are not young, may need this knowledge, and maybe they don't realize they're making some of these mistakes. When you talked about appearance, it triggered a memory for me. A couple of things. First of all, I remember my dad used to say, even if you don't know what the dress code is, you're always safe with a plain pair of black trousers and a plain white button-down shirt. You're safe with that anywhere you go. And so that could be your standard of what you wear to every interview. Also, I wanted to tell a story about, the power of what you look like when you're going to the interview. And I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but the reality is when you're going to look for a job, they are going to judge you by what you look like. And so I was interviewing this young woman. I was hiring a part-time person for the store that I used to manage. And she came in, and when she walked in, she looked like she was going to the nightclub. She looked like she was getting ready to go to a nightclub. The clothes she was wearing was fully something that someone would be wearing at 11 o'clock at night when they're going to the club to go and dance and have a good time, not for a job interview. So I told her, I said to her, this that you're wearing, I said, most people won't tell you this. Most people won't tell you this, but that's not appropriate for you to wear to a job interview. You're coming into this establishment and you're dressed like you're going to the nightclub. And I told her, I said, if you don't have the money to buy new clothes, I mean, you should just have something plain and basic. And I told her exactly what my dad said: a plain black pair of pants, a plain white shirt, and you can use that as your standard uniform for going to job interviews. Every time you have an interview, that's what you pull out, because you can't show up. You can't show up dressed the way you were dressed. And she actually said to me, nobody had ever told her this before. Nobody ever told her that she couldn't be wearing this to a job interview. And I was like, how? I thought it was such a basic piece of knowledge, but obviously it's not a basic piece of knowledge because not everybody knows. So I was glad that I told her that. And the thing that made it even more passionate for me to tell her was, I mean, I was in Canada at the time, a place where it's mostly white people. She was a young black girl coming in for an interview. And I was like, most people would not tell you this. They would just be like, that black girl came in dressed like she was going to the club. And
they will label you.
Pardon?
They will label you.
Yeah. So I'm glad I was able to share that with her. But that's just an example of people judge what you're wearing when you come in for a job interview. So it's very important to have a level of professionalism when you do come in for the job. So we've covered so much today. I had wanted to, leave a period of time for Q&A for the end of this session, but I noticed that everybody is really shy. We don't have as many people who joined as much as many people that I was hoping would join our live stream, but people are shy. They're not saying anything in the comment section. As far as young people go, I have a comment here from Lordy Emin, who says, "This is great, Ivy, much needed, especially in Ghana. Young people need to appreciate that when they go into interviews well prepared, gives them extra confidence that comes through at the interviews." Thank you so much for your comment. And that is so true. Even if people are not watching now, they can watch this later because this live will be up. It will, I'm not going to remove it. It'll be there for anybody to watch later who wasn't able to join in. I want to encourage people watching today that you can practice mock interviews. You can find a friend or a family member and practice doing your interviews with each other so that you can start to gain the confidence so that when you do have to go for a job interview, you are ready, that you can have that friend, that person to bounce back off of when you're doing it at home, or if you can't find anybody to help you, you can just use your mirror. Just use your mirror and talk into the mirror and practice. And even talking into the mirror, the great thing about that is you'll actually see your face and see how you're looking when you're saying things. You'll see your body language. You'll see if you look shy, if you look nervous, if you're looking away. You can gain your confidence just by looking in the mirror and practicing on your own. And then as Kwame was talking about earlier, the STAR method. When you are preparing for interviews, use the STAR method, which is the situation, task, action, results. If you're not sure, you can always go and Google the STAR method for interviews. You can find a lot of stuff online, a lot of useful resources that can be helpful. The other thing that can help you with becoming better at engaging with people when you're doing interviews is networking. Don't be afraid to go to events and network. That's your opportunity to meet people. And when you meet people, oftentimes people are like, "Oh, what do you do?" That's something that people always ask when they meet someone for the first time. And maybe even if you don't have a job, it's your opportunity to even just share what your skills are, what your capabilities are. And I want to talk quickly about personal branding once I finish talking about the networking. So with the networking, look out for events that are happening in the field that you've studied. You can find stuff on LinkedIn. You can find stuff in social media. You can find Facebook groups that people have. Like, let's say if you're in accounting, you can find, some accounting group that's might be on Facebook in Ghana, and look to see who's in that group. Find the associations. There's like, this journalism association in Ghana. There's so many different organizations that are geared towards certain industries. Find out about those organizations. Find out when they're having events or if they're having awards ceremonies, and you can go and meet people. That would be your chance to meet people in your field. And when you meet people in your field, that's an opportunity that you can start to build relationships. So one of the things that a lot of people make the mistake of is there's this sense of entitlement that I find that some people have. So for instance, I'll get a message from somebody that says, "Oh, I see that you work in media. Please give me the phone number of so and so." And I'm like, first of all, who are you? That just send me a message and you're demanding that I give you the personal phone number of somebody that I know. And somebody's like, "Oh, I saw you with Bernard Avle. Can you give me his number? Oh, I saw you with Kafuide. Oh, give me his number." And I'm just like, you can't have this sense of entitlement that because you saw me with someone that you assume you have the right for me to just dash you their personal phone number. It doesn't work like that. When you're trying to meet people, you're trying to network, you have to build relationships with
Sure.
people. Build relationships with people. If you're trying to talk to me, have to try to have a cordial relationship. Use LinkedIn to talk about what your skills are. And the other mistake that some young people make a lot of the time is they'll send you a message and say, "I need a job. Give me a job." That's not how you're going to get a job. I get so many messages. "I need a job. Give me a job." That's not how you get a job. You don't know the person. You don't know what work they do. You don't know, you don't know what work they're looking for. Like, there's so many different elements to it.
Yeah, and also to add to what you just made mention of, Ivy.
Yes.
Social media, people need to understand that social media is a real world, and how we treat someone on social media, or we speak to someone in social media. You don't want to come in real, you don't want to come um um you don't want to see the person in person, not behind the screen, and start to feel regret. Because one of the things a lot of people have done is they have even closed so many future doors ahead of them before they even get closer to them. What am I trying to say? Sometimes how people carry themselves on social media, the only thing that they justify by saying is, "Oh, it's just social media." But you've spoken to the person in a rude manner and you have not even had the audacity to even apologize. But you are here seeing the person and say, "Oh, I need a job," or you are sitting in front of the person to be interviewed. Meanwhile, the person has gone on your social media and printed all your social media history, and they are ready to present to you as an evidence, which it has happened before in Ghana. Like, literally, it happened to a young man who actually went for an audition, which a lot of people in Ghana know about this kind of story. And not knowing this person has been trolling all the people who are sitting behind the table as the judges. He has trolled every single person. So the only thing they were waiting for is that they're waiting for the person to step on the stage and show him the evidence that this is what you've been doing. You've been trolling all of us. You've been saying a lot of harsh stuff about us, which is not true. And you don't want to be found in that capacity and you expect the person to automatically offer you the job because you have got the right grades, your CV says a lot about you, but your character has sold you away that you can't work in this company because you're going to create chaos and you're going to create a very difficult atmosphere for other people to work with you because you've already showcased that side of you on social media. So it's something that a lot of young people need to take into account when they come on social media. No one is saying that no one is perfect, but we just have to make sure that we clean our back and we admit and we apologize where we wrong, because sometimes you might not even know what you are saying, but in the heat of the moment, you said something because there is a bandwagon that is going on and you want to join the bandwagon to troll that person. You have to apologize and you have to admit. So people need to understand that all these kind of stuff are closing opportunities even way before they reach there, because as they say, whatever you post on the internet, it doesn't forget. It leaves a digital footprint and it'll be waiting for you to answer to those questions.
Yes, most definitely. I'm so glad that you brought that up because people do not realize how much social media can affect their potential job opportunities. I had someone who told me that a manager that I knew, he told me that he was going to hire somebody. And then when he found his public Facebook posts, he was like, he's not going to hire this person because he noticed that the guy is always in some drunken escapades that he's involved in, and he was like, I don't want this kind of character in our office. If his escapades are so bad that he has these bad photos where he's in the worst drunken state. So you just never know what people can find about you online that they'll use as judgment when they're making decisions to hire you. So yes, I'm glad that you brought that
And
up. It's very
just
important for
one thing
people to
to
know.
add, before you go for an interview, just type your name on ChatGPT and wait for what will happen. I did that for myself, and I was shocked. I was shocked the information he pulled out. Some of the stuff, no, it wasn't like it was terrible, it was bad stuff. I have done those kind of stuff. I've occupied those positions in the past and I've forgotten. But ChatGPT was able to grab all those information and bring it. So imagine someone who has never seen me and doesn't know me go and put my name in ChatGPT. That's exactly what is going to appear. So people need to start
Wow.
thinking that what am I putting online that I might not know? Because right now people are not using Facebook, because Facebook and Twitter, you might delete it. But ChatGPT has got a storage whereby when you type your name in, everything will come. So people need to be mindful of what they are posting because right now the ChatGPT is catching people out.
Wow. Wow. Whoa. Thank you for that one. Because that's something that I think a lot of people wouldn't have thought about.
Now,
That is definitely, we're at the advent of AI. So for sure, there's going to be a lot of information out there. Wow. Well, this has been a really, really great conversation. We don't have people who are ready to ask questions, but if you do have any comments or anything you want to share with us personally, you can send an email to myself at info@ivyprosper.com. And you can send an email to Kwame at ukshelf@gmail.com. You can reach him. As I said earlier, you can also follow him on his YouTube. He has a YouTube channel where he shares information about mental health and has some really important conversations. As it says here, speak, heal, educate, lead, fight. This is his purpose. And this, as you can see, this is his YouTube channel. You should go over there and follow his channel. You can get all kinds of insights of the things that he shares. Yeah, these looks like some engaging conversations. You can learn a lot from him. So check out his YouTube channel. And as I said, you can send him an email if you want to reach out to him directly, because he has some really good insight based on some of his experiences. And just a couple of key things that he said throughout this conversation. He said, don't overpromise when you don't have the skill, because it's something that people sometimes do. They overpromise. Then when they find out you don't have the skill, it looks bad on you. Your leadership skills in school are also valid. He talked about that. He also talked about don't be afraid to sell yourself. Confidence is key. Making sure that you make eye contact in your interviews. Understand that your appearance is important in your job interviews. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback when you have rejection. You need to know why it is that possibly you didn't get the job. And when you learn from your mistakes, it can help you in the future. So this has been a really, really great conversation. If you missed it, you can catch the replay if you were just joining us now. I really appreciate all of you who've come online today. This was a really important discussion that I wanted to have because the young people of Ghana and other parts of Africa have talked about how it's been difficult to find work. But these are some of the tools that you can use to help you in your job search, because sometimes that's all it is. It's just something that you may be doing that's not quite right, that is getting your CV tossed in the garbage or deleted from the email. So I hope that you implement some of these skills and that you see a difference for yourself as you are in your job search. And I appreciate everybody who's been here today. Lordy says, well done, guys. Great conversation. Thank you so much, Lordy, for joining us today. So this has been good. We were live on LinkedIn as well as live on YouTube. So you check the replay on both platforms. So I appreciate you all for being here today. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again next time.
Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you.